The music is more important than the musician. What do I mean by that? I think when approaching music, you have to remember we, as musicians, are in service of the song. It's not the other way around. The music doesn't serve the musician. Music exists just fine without musicians. It has birds, the wind through the trees, whatever. Nature makes plenty of music. So our job as musicians is to serve the music and play it well. So many of us have seen videos on YouTube or even Instagram, where there is a lot of flashy playing. There's a lot of technique over musicality. And I think many of us can say it leaves us empty. There's just something missing. I feel like I'm watching a guitarist. I'm not watching a musician. You can go back to any point in time, even classical music in the 1700s. I'm sure there are plenty of arguments about who was musical and who was more technical. So that's always been the case. But being flashy on the guitar or playing fast, well, number one, has to fit the music. And number two, it has to be musical. You can play fast where you're really focusing on how the rhythms are bouncing off each other, how you're able to question and answer your own phrases. There's a lot to it to bring the musicality into it, even if you're playing blindingly fast. But that's song specific, that's style specific. If the starting point is to learn how to, be extremely technical on the instrument, then what that musician or that guitarist is going for is becoming a great guitarist, not necessarily a great musician. And I'm not treading into that territory. People are free to play for whatever reasons they want to, and that's cool. But what I often go over with other students or musicians with whom I play, the music has always been more important than any individual musician on that stage. If I show up to a jam session and begin wailing and shredding sort of in the wrong context just to sort of prove my worth as a player, I've done the exact opposite. How this applies to your daily practicing or playing is simple. Keep what you play musical. When you really focus on the quality of the sound, the tone, the phrasing, it becomes trying to capture the musical moment, not the guitaristic moment. Pretend each note is a jewel, is a gem that needs to be polished, that needs to be respected. Again, that's going to be hard to do at 300 BPM, but if you're practicing that way and keeping it in mind, it will show even in songs where the style requires like bebop or bluegrass, country. You'll hear musicality in some of these shredders playing. They're more about the music than they are about themselves being the musician. There are a million guitarists who can get the job done admirably with, extreme precision and technicality. But those aren't the ones that end up on the pop songs or the rock songs or the jazz pieces that we remember for a lifetime. No, it's the ones that said something in their soloing. Eddie Van Halen is the perfect example of somebody who has more than enough flash and more than enough technique, but most everything he did was musical. We remember his solos not because they were flashy, but because they said something. And they stuck with us. I remember the first time I ever heard Van Halen was probably 77 when it hit the radio. It was different than anything else. Immediately, it was like, gotta have a Van Halen record. Who's this guitarist? All of these ideas, these little fills that were so musical, his chords. Again, that is sort of, I feel like in many ways where it stopped. There are a lot of players that came after who are emulating that style. So many people were. Why not? But then it became more about the performative part as opposed to the musical aspect. Whereas Eddie had to see other people taking his idea and just sort of becoming a little more, brain-centric or more technically inclined. And, that had been hard for him because for him, it was always about the music. And you can see that in his face. And I think that's why we loved him, is that here's a guitarist who is infinitely musical and melodic and couches that in this just powerfully hitting rock and roll. And that's what Van Halen was. It was an explosion in sound that did not exist before, I can guarantee you. My first concert ever was 1979, seeing Van Halen. So, even though I do mostly jazz Americana now, Van Halen was my first concert, and I will never forget that. So even, when you see some of your favorite players who are playing something very technical and fast, listen for the musicality in there. Listen if they're trying to highlight their playing or highlight the song, because that is the definition of who thinks music is more important or who thinks their ability is more important. Now, of course, nobody would say that. They would disagree with that. I mean, we're here to, to play the music. But when it becomes more about the instrumentalist and becomes more about the performance, that's where I'm lost. I can't do that. Yeah, the music is more important than the musician, as evidenced by 99% of our guitar heroes or musical heroes. They didn't just play well. They knew that they were in service of the song, period. Most of us are music lovers first and musicians second. I think that kind of goes without saying. And that's when the guitar becomes simply an instrument of conveyance for the message. We are musicians first, then guitarists. Thank you for watching this video. Check out some of my other videos that talk about just being a musician, a guitar teacher, like so many of us do. Please don't forget to click like and subscribe. You can join me on Patreon or also join my YouTube channel. Links are below. Thanks so much for watching. Everybody take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.